Good evening, goons. Welcome back to Jack of all trades. We are all together again. Sam, Kalen, myself, and Kalen's a little burned out though, but thank you for showing up today.
I'm so tired. If I sound like I'm half asleep, it's because I am.
The fact that you could be half asleep and still read the charts clearly says a lot, though.
You know
But
what's funny is I got a quick story for you.
yeah,
So I deal with snow removal and stuff in the winters. So I fucking when was it? It was like I don't know, a few weeks back. I worked like a 30-hour shift because I worked through the day and then I did a night shift, like running dispatch for plowing. And there was like some stuff that I was looking at to trade the next morning. So like I got home from my shift. So I'd worked like 30 hours or whatever. Got home from my shift at I think it
I
was
remember this day.
yeah, it was like 7:30 or 8 in the morning. So I get to my computer, I'm like half delirious. I look at the markets, I'm like, oh fuck. I was like, okay, that'd be good. So I draw my lines in with like one eye closed, and then it's like 8 o'clock or 8:30 at this point. So I set my alarm for like 10 after 9. I was like, okay, I'm just gonna crash for like half an hour, get some quick rest. I'm gonna wake up, come back, I'm gonna trade, and then go back to bed. So I go lay down, my alarm goes off. I wake up, I look at it, pass right back out again. Wake up again, it was 9:54. So I'm like, shit. So I jump up and I crash through my house trying to get to my computer because I like can't even fucking stand properly. And then I get to my screen and there was two stocks that I was watching. One of them like ripped up right into my line and went down. Like I was like, damn. So I missed that one. Then I saw another one going. So I start like punching in my orders. I've been awake for 15 seconds at this point on 30 minutes of sleep after a 30-hour shift. So I'm like punching everything in, and like I put the order out, trying to like set a short for higher, and then it just executes. I'm like, what the hell? So I looked down, and it was like a market order I'd put out by accident. So I like tried to cover it, and then ended up adding more, and the stock was just like consolidating at this point. So I just cleared the order and like got out of it. So there's like all these little arrows that are just like right beside each other. And then I finally got my two orders up properly, and then within the next like 10 minutes, the stock ripped up, hit my orders, went down, I covered, and then like 10 minutes later, I was right back to bed. And then I think I woke up at like 3 in the afternoon, and like I thought it was like a dream. I'm like, fuck, did I trade? Did I trade this morning? And I like go look at my computer, and I was just like, oh, sweet, I made some money.
I think I remember that day. You messaged like I remember reading your message around like noon or early noon. I'm like, you fucking degenerate. Like, I
Yeah,
knew you worked the night before.
oh man, it was so bad. I was just like sweating, and I just felt like hell. Man, I definitely should not have traded, but the fact that I could basically trade while I was half asleep was pretty funny.
What you should do is get a projector from your bed and then get Siri somehow like to do the trades for you. They'd be like,
Yeah,
Siri.
seriously. Oh
Yeah.
man. But anyways, sorry, what were you saying?
No, I was just saying, like, I was wanting to get your thoughts on Rivian because, like, I missed that short, obviously, but
Could
want
you
to
get
see.
shares on that? I forgot what we were talking about that because if
No, because there's like a 4 or 5 day period where I realized that I was trying to hit short with a normal account. I need a margin one, so I had them open the margin one for me. And then while I'm waiting for it to waiting for that to happen, the stock just keeps going up, up, up into my levels. I'm like, okay. Then it passed my levels. I'm like, kind of sucks. Then it hit like whatever it did, 170, whatever. I'm like,
yeah,
at that point, I'm thinking, oh, maybe my stupidness saved me some money. And they just went right down after. I'm like, fuck.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Do you want to pull up the chart here, Sam, just so we can kind of get a visual on what we're looking at?
But
Yeah,
it looks to me it broke support.
whenever you're trying to short these IPOs, it's always kind of sketchy though. I don't personally, just because like I always play off chart history, and like if there's nothing for me to look back on for resistance, it's just like you're basically just guessing at that point. But like you obviously have the fundamental background on this thing.
Well, I knew it was a shortable stock from a fundamental perspective, but to your point, the danger is like how far up will it go? How much will it get fucked before it starts to correct itself, right? But
Yeah,
I looked at history of the IPOs and I'm like, they usually, if it's a really hype company, they'll IPO and they'll go up about 50 to 100% above whatever their initial price offering would be, and then that's around the time they'll start coming back down, right? So Rivian was like $100, I think, price. So then I figured about 150, 140 was a good area to start shorting. That was
yeah,
my thing.
yeah. So we went almost all the way up to 180 here
Mhm.
because it opened at like 106, 107. So there's almost 100% move up, and then
Mhm.
yeah, it just tanked right back down. But these are nice. Like the safe, you could have still shorted on this bounce over here. Like these are the safer shorts down here. This is actually kind of like what I'm working on now in my trades is like what I like the way that I was kind of trading before. I still do to a certain degree on certain setups, but like instead of like going in full size on a move like this, like what I'm trying to do now is basically be a little bit more patient, wait for this move to come up. So I'm starting in like I'll start in like a fifth or like a tenth of my size on this front side here on the first big spike. And then once I see that reversal and I see the thing break, then I'll just fucking hammer into it on the downside and just let it come down. So I'll short into weakness on the way down once I see the thing turn around.
Would you say the short sellers probably piled in on the 30th, November 30th? That one?
This is the 17th here.
I know, but there's one on the 30th that looks
This
that
looks like
sticks
it
out to
right
me.
here. This is the
Mhm.
19th.
19th, eh? Okay.
That looks like a short day because we have these. Because what happens is usually like when these things turn around, like you're waiting for a bounce, right? So like we didn't have a bounce on this day, didn't have a bounce on this day, and then we have a gap up. So you get this first spike, and that's why you got this big top wick is because this is the first actual bounce that we had. So that one actually went right into your 140 line. Funny enough
Yeah.
on that
Yeah.
bounce, but
There
then yeah,
was
it came right
yeah.
back. Just funny, man. Like when you look at these charts, if you know how to read charts, like you can read the psychology perfectly. Like you look at you look at these candles here, and it's like this is a bounce. So what happens here is all the longs that were chasing buying up here, they're all selling on this pop, trying to get the hell out. Shorts are getting in here, shorting it down. And then we have this candle, which is the very next day, and you got a big bottom wick because this is all the people down here that are thinking, oh man, all right, I'm getting back in at the IPO price, which is look at that line. It's like it's probably almost to the penny right here, right?
Yeah.
Where the stock price IPO'd, and then that's right where it bottomed out. So everybody's thinking, oh great, it was just at 180. I'll get in at the open price, expecting another big move back up. So you get this, and then it just kind of fades off into nothing. And then once you break that lower support, then you just, that's why this candle down here has really big volume. Even though it's a small candle, it's because that's when we broke the support line, right, from the IPO price. As
Yeah.
soon as that breaks, this big volume candle is just everybody getting the hell out.
It's funny how you could almost see the news take place just looking at the charts because it's like it was setting up perfectly for that earnings report.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, you can usually tell like if you look at because like companies aren't stupid, right? And it usually lines up with news releases too. Like if you look at charts and when you see press releases and stuff like that on charts, if you know how to read a stock chart properly, then normally when companies come out with news, you'll look at it and it'll be something like this where like it's rate kind of turning around about to break down and then they have the news and it just destroys that support level or vice versa if it's trending upward, you might be rated like a 52-week high, and then just by fluke they'll come out with a press release that's really good news, and then it breaks that high, right? And then the stock holds up higher. So the companies aren't stupid. Like they know how to work these things. They know how to read charts too.
It,
It's just a
there's
matter of kind of playing both sides of it.
there's also that theory that's kind of been proving to be false. I believe it to be false, but there's something to it. The efficient market hypothesis. Have you heard of that?
I have. I just refresh my memory. I can't remember what that is offhand.
It's just some economist a long time ago said that the market is a perfect price discovery machine. Therefore, all known information is represented by the market. So at any given time, all information is known. So if you follow that, then it's like it looks like the market knew that the price or the revenues is going to be shit. So then they prepared for it to sink, right? But that doesn't quite explain why it gapped down the next day because clearly somebody didn't know, right?
Mm.
But I
Yeah.
think but I think a part of it is true in that the fact that it looked like it was already setting up, it's like anything. If there's a secret, no matter how well you keep it, there's gonna be leaks. And so it looks like somebody was trying to jump in front of get ahead.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, anytime you have something like that, there's always people that know stuff, right? So
Yeah.
that's why the chart patterns are so important. It's like technical analysis at the end of the day, in my opinion, is the absolute number one thing for reading charts. Like just straight up volume and candles. Like volume and candles or volume and lines. It's really like if you can learn how to read that very well and you can learn to read the sentiment and the emotion behind that, like it makes trading like literally like reading a book. Like it's so clear. It's so clear what everybody's thinking and what's going on.
There's a lot of people that still don't believe in it. Like, there's a really good, really well-known Tesla analyst, and he's been right. But he's pure fundamental analysis. But he'll look at Tesla's, he'll look so deep into their numbers, and he'll keep you track like 6, 12 months ahead, and be like, their production is going to be within this range, and therefore the price will be within this range. There's a whole bunch of calculations, and he's really accurate with it, right? But one time it annoyed me where he went on this podcast and he was like saying, he said technical analysis is astrology for men. And
No.
I'm like, I get the fact that what you're doing is working and I see the logic behind it. But I mean, if I were to challenge him and I would just say, let's just pick a stock, any stock, and then and we'll trade it for like a week or a month. Pick a time period, right? Who's going to do better, you or me? I guarantee you, all else being equal, I will do better because you're going to think like you're going to know all known information just by looking um at the fundamentals. I mean, not every company is like Tesla. Not every company is as open as Tesla. You know what I mean? Like, try doing it with other companies. Try doing it with a small cap.
Mhm.
You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Like, yeah,
Yeah.
over.
I think the reason that like certain guys like that is I think it's an ego thing because like there's a lot of guys out there where the old saying where it's like they'd rather be right than make money. That's like
Mm,
that's like the fundamental guys, right? Like take just because we have this open, take Rivian for example. So like let's say Rivian's like their revenues are like what'd you say
yeah.
$1 million. They're valued at like 100 billion or something stupid like that, right? So it doesn't make sense. Like it makes no sense right off the get go. But like let's say you knew that. So on the IPO day, you just shorted your entire bankroll on this day down here. Well, by the time it gets up to 180 bucks, you're probably out. You're down a ton of money. You've lost your whole account. It's game over. And then it comes right back down. And then down here, you can go, haha, see, I was right. Like what's the point in that? Like, I'd rather make money than be right. So but the fundamental stuff, it seems like it's on a longer time frame. Like technicals, I think it becomes it doesn't become obsolete, but in my opinion, from what I've seen, is like the longer the time frame on technicals, the less exact it becomes. Like the less precise it can become. Because if you're looking at stuff, because then you're factoring in the economy as a whole, you're factoring in the growth of the specific company, you're factoring in changes, like all these kind of things. Whereas like if you're looking over like you can chime in here if you think I'm wrong, but like if you're looking over say like a 20-year period of a company, like yeah, you're still going to see some support and resistance lines, but I don't think there's going to be as many little nuances that you can really like pinpoint. Like I think some of those levels are going to kind of start to stretch out a little bit and not be quite as precise.
I'm gonna say yes and no. Like, there is a lot that's just there's so much variables as you add time to it that it's like, how do you even account for that, right? But
Yeah,
sometimes But sometimes there's like traditional chart patterns, they're just so freaking strong that if you see a year-long pennant or flag, bull flag setting up, that shit's gonna fuck every short seller. Like there's no two ways about it.
yeah.
It's like, it's weird. So some stuff seems to be stronger, but then other stuff just seems to be just who knows.
Yeah. I think it's like over the real, like I'm talking like over 10, 15, 20 years.
Okay.
That's why I think these like even, yeah, over a year, 2 years, three
Yeah.
years, like you can still see some pretty clean cut like technical charts. But
Yeah.
that's why I think a lot of these really long term investors like they like I mean I'm not saying Warren Buffett doesn't believe in technical analysis by any means, but like guys like that who might not put really any weight on it, and that's why it's because like they're buying something with the plan to sell it in 40 years. So like whether the stock's downtrending right now or it's in a pennant or it's a head and shoulders or like it's completely irrelevant because they're saying like why do you even care about that? Like we're buying it now to sell it, you know 20, 30, 40 years from now. So it doesn't even matter, right? But whereas
Yeah.
like the way that we're looking at things, we're trading stuff like over the day, over the week, over months, right? So it's a tighter time frame, and that's when this stuff really works. Like even here, like I was just kind of drawing this while you're talking, but like this is one of my favorite areas to short on any of these charts is when you get a big move up like that, and then on the line chart when you have that first bounce, like that little notch right there, like that's my favorite short level. That's probably the easiest short you guys will ever take. Get a big move up like this from all the way up here, all the way down to from a dollar or 180 all the way down to 123. You have absolutely no support. Like there's no support and there's no resistance up here. So
Oh,
you can short up this line all day long, and if it breaks, it might go all the way back up to 180. But this is the only level. Like if there was multiple levels, then it might break this one and go up to the next one, and it could push to the next one before it comes down. But when you only have one like this, I mean, you go back over the candles. Like look at that. How many times did it hit it? One, two, three, four. Like just over and over and over. Like that's the easiest short in the book right there. Like that's my favorite setup.
You know, that's really funny because that level is actually really important. I don't know if you got your fib ready, but if you just pull the fib from the IPO date from the bottom to the top, like what 170, whatever that is, you'll see
Like for the
exactly where it
bottom
landed.
pick.
Yeah. I use a line chart, but this should probably still work.
I don't know if I'm doing it right, but
If you
might,
yeah, start from the bottom. Yeah, start from the bottom. So the first point will be at the bottom, and then the second point will be at the top. Fib retrace.
is this the right one? I never use this tool.
I think so. If you just pull it over, I can't see too clearly, but that
It's like $3 off the 618 line.
that's what I mean.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. Like you're gonna tell me that's bullshit? I could pull this shit all day off almost like almost any chart you show me.
Yeah,
Uh,
the top wick on this biggest candle that pushed through the line like came within like a couple cents of the 618 line.
yeah, I mean, there's just way too much evidence out there to say that to say that technical analysis voodoo or like astrology for men is just ignoring the truth.
And
Actually,
technical analysis fucking outweighs anything. And like even get guys like if you're looking at like intraday trading and stuff like that, there's like I don't want to bash like tape reading or anything like that because it can be really, really helpful in seeing where things are going, finding hidden sellers, like seeing little nuances and like where you might be able to add into a stock and stuff like that. But like you don't like, in my opinion, and there's a lot of professional traders that'll agree with me. You don't need level two. Like you don't have to watch the order
Mhm.
flow to be able to trade. Like you can strictly just have a chart and you can trade. Like if I'm trading intraday, like I have the level two open just because I like to watch it because you'll see what's going to happen before. So like for me, it's like I already know what it's going to do, and like so if it's at $2 and like I'm going to try and cover at $1.80, like I already know what's going there by the time I'm in the trade. So like, but if I'm looking at it and it's sitting at like $1.85 for like 10, 15 minutes and it kind of keeps bouncing off that, that's when I'll watch the level two and I'll just say, okay, how much size is still there? Like, are we hitting it a lot? Like, is there hidden size? Like, that's the kind of stuff I'll see. But if it's like slowly getting chipped away, chipped away, chipped away over minutes and minutes and minutes, that's when if you're just looking at the chart, then you don't know because you're thinking, oh man, this thing just keeps holding and holding and holding. Is it going to break down? But if you're watching the order flow, you can see those orders disappearing, 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 and then once they're gone, that's when you get that flush, and then you can cover the
Yeah,
rest of your position, right? So
yeah.
you don't need it. Like it's not critical to learn how to trade. It's just kind of a lot of people put too much weight on it and they're like, oh, they try and think they're cool. Like you have to learn how to read the tape, and it's you really don't.
I wonder if it's a result of like some people are just like data junkies that just whatever you give them, they'll use it,
Yeah,
like, and they suffer from like information overload.
it can
Or
help. I mean, like I think once you have a profitable strategy and like you know what you're doing, it can add an extra level of ability. Like where you can enter in, where you can know how to add and like stuff like that, and like little nuances that might allow you to take trades you might not necessarily have done before. But like if you're a trader, like if you're just a trader, technical analysis is number one over anything. Like just learn how to read charts and like super simple. Like on like I use the candles and I use volume. That's it. And like I'll have like I'll have moving like I'll have a 50 and a 200 moving average open just because. But like I'm not using. I really don't use those for anything in my
yeah,
trades. Like I just kind of have them there just like almost just arbitrarily. But like I'm just doing like what I did here. Like I just see this level and I draw a line and then I'll just play off that line. If that line breaks, I'm out and I'll just cover into washes. Like that's like it's that simple. Like there's no you don't need all these friggin' you know, Bollinger Bands and Ichimoku clouds and this other crap that just fucking makes your chart look super cool. And then you look at something like this, it's like, oh, there's two lines on there. This guy must be an idiot, but we're the ones making money. So call me an idiot all you want. I'll keep taking a paycheck.
tell you, man, during those years where I was learning TA, I got into Elliott waves heavily. I touched on Ichimoku clouds, and I saw Bollinger Bands. I was just like, it's just the white person's version of Ichimoku clouds, really. So, but what I realized was like these things are all basically saying the same thing. Just pick one of them. Pick any of
Yeah.
them,
A lot of them are
right?
lagging indicators too, right? That's
They're
the
all
problem.
lagging. All
Yeah.
indicators are lagging,
The
right? By
only like
definition.
yeah, the only things that aren't lagging is like the chart itself. Even volume technically is a lagging
Lagging,
indicator.
yeah.
Because like as the chart's going, that volume candle's increasing as the thing's trading, right? So it's technically still a lagging indicator. But like the candles are the only things that are happening in real time.
That's
So
it.
like that's why like because I remember like and like I learned this years ago like when I first started trading in my first couple months. Like I remember one of the first things I was looking at was like the death cross or whatever. I can't remember. It was like
Yeah.
when the 50-day moving average
It goes, yeah,
crosses over the 200,
yeah.
then the stock's going down. So I just started typing in a bunch of random stock names and I just scroll back to when this happened. And every time the actual candles lined up with where that cross was, like probably 70% of the time they were bouncing. So I'm like, this is dumb. Like the thing started selling off a month
Yeah.
ago, and then by the time it actually pulled those moving averages across each other, it bounced. So
So
like you're just using those as a confirmation when you're already in the trade to be like, okay,
yeah.
yeah, this is just another reason to prove that I'm right and hold on a little bit longer.
So I have a theory. My theory is like those weird things like the moving averages, those are only relevant to like maybe stocks where it's almost heavily traded by professionals or somebody in the know.
Mhm.
Whereas lines work because everybody looks at price. I
Yeah.
don't care who you are, everybody's affected by price, right? But if you don't know what the 50 and the 20 is, why would that ever affect how you make a decision, right?
Hmm.
So but the reason I have it in my chart is because I'm like thinking if I'm trading an asset that where I think most traders are kind of know something about TA, I'll be like, they're probably watching the 50.
Right.
So I'll use it, but I usually watch it and I usually tend to think that it's just like a weak bounce point. Like they'll just give some weak little, support, but then it'll just get fucked up right after.
Hmm. Yeah, and that,
That's
that just
that's
goes
one.
back to that just goes back to the psychology stuff we were talking about at the start, right? It's like you want to try and play with what everybody's looking at, right? So like if
Yeah.
you see like a super clear resistance line, and like we've talked about this before, like something like this, again, like that's so clear, like that is the only support level on this entire chart. So any idiot who's looked at technical analysis for more than 15 minutes can draw that line.
Yeah.
And since this stock had so much hype, and like we all know that this was probably 90% retail money, people sitting at home trading this thing, everybody's looking at that line, which means that line's going to hold a lot of weight, right? Whereas
Mm.
if you're using all these weird indicators that nobody else uses, nobody like you might have 20,000 people trading the stock, and there might be six guys that are looking at this indicator, which means it's going to be completely useless, right? So
They are mostly useless. Like
yeah.
I love ripping apart Elliott wave guides. Sorry if you are one, but I got balls deep into it and that's why I know it's bullshit, but it's useless.
Yeah, I mean, like everybody has their own like trading methods off different things, and like again, it goes on different time frames too, like whatever your time frame is. But like, I mean, at the end of the day, that's why they always say, keep it simple. Like, just it's trading is simple. It's not easy because of the emotional side of things and the human side of things, but like the actual process of like when to get in, when to get out, and stuff is easy. Like I could teach someone how to do what I do in like probably half an hour. Like I could sit someone down, show them my full process. I could give them stocks to trade and they would fuck it up because they don't have the emotional side of things. But like the actual process and the levels that I use are so simple and anybody can glance at a chart and know exactly where I'm going to get in and out.
Yeah. You know what actually sent my TA growth like it really sped it up. There was one June, there was a guy, he used to work for one of the major firms. He traded FX and then he started going into crypto and then he became a Bitcoin maximalist and he had a seminar in Toronto. He's coming to Toronto. I think I paid like $1,000 for that 1 day course thing in Bitcoin. He only accepted Bitcoin too. So then I went so then I went to the course and like I wasn't going there trying to think like, okay, he has a secret, but I was trying to go there to think I'm like, okay, this guy's proven high level trader. I want to see what he does, right? And
Mhm.
he traded live, like he paper traded, but he started drawing the lines. He's like, so my stop would be here, my whatever would whatever, right? And I was looking at what he's doing, and I'm like, that's worth $1,000 right there. It's not
Mhm.
the strategy he's using, but it's the fact that clearly you also know what you don't know, and then this is how you account for it. That means we're all swimming in the same pool. You don't have some magic voodoo that nobody else does. Like I
Yeah.
can do this. That's when it clicked for me.
Yeah, it's really funny, man. And like the more like that's why like I rewatch like a lot of old educational videos that I watched like years ago because I'll watch them now. And like back then I was like, I was like, oh, okay, cool. So this is how you read that, and this is this technical analysis and that. But like, the people that are talking in the video, they might just kind of breeze over something and just say something that like you think is really arbitrary. And that you could like, but because of what I know now, I could just hear that one little thing and be like, oh my God, I can use that to make
Yeah.
so much
Yeah,
money. Like
yeah,
it's just the weirdest little things that you pick up, and then it's like, Jesus, why did that's so easy? Like, why didn't I think of that? But like somebody that doesn't know how to trade and hasn't been exposed to this stuff for a long, like for a couple of years already, they'd hear that and they'd just ignore it almost.
yeah, they don't know what to look for, so
Mhm.
what do you do?
Yeah, it's like even with the stuff that we're doing, it's like, yeah, we can like show you these levels on the chart and this and that, but like, somebody who's watching this in real time, they're like, oh, you don't know, right? Like you don't know what it's going to do. You look at the volume and you're like, okay, I think this is supposed to do that, and then you see the wicks on the candles, but like it doesn't all kind of, it's not all cohesive. It doesn't all come together into an actual plan.
Yeah. That's why we keep saying, like, rather than paper trading, you gotta put some money down and just be prepared to lose it. It's tuition.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Paper trading is good for like for learning the mechanics of it, like learning how to enter orders, learning how things work, learning how to get out of a position quick if it's going the wrong way, and stuff like that. I think it's good for, and like just practicing stuff, because like you don't actually have to like like the word paper trading, like you could literally look at a chart and just write on a sheet of
Yeah.
paper like, okay, I'd want to short this thing at $20, and I'd want to cover it at $18, and then you can
Yeah.
just watch and see if you were right. Right, you don't actually have to put the orders out there. And
Yeah.
then, but like the paper trading aspect of it just actually like teaches you how to use your operating system.
Yeah. Yeah. I did that before for my trade too. I was trading money too, but at the same time, I just want to get more experience. So there's charts where it's like I don't want to touch it, but something looks like it's gonna happen to me. So I just drew like, my lines, like it might do this, might do that, wrote a few notes, and I look back at it 6 months later, I'd be like, oh, I was right. Or like, oh,
Yeah,
it's way off, like whatever.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And then you can dig into it further, and be like, okay, why was I right? Why was I wrong? Like, what's different from this one to that one, right?
Yeah. 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 I think the important thing is like that we both realized at the beginning that helped us was like we can't start off making money with that expectation. We're here to learn, we're here to lose money, we're gonna keep losing until we figure it out. Right? Whereas a lot of people are like, I gotta make money day one. This has got to return something.
Yeah, there's a lot of those people this year, right? And now that's why excuse me, that's why the markets have been so slow lately in small caps and stuff, is because everybody just got fucking killed over the past couple of years. They made a whole bunch of money in 2020, and then they gave it all back to me in 2021.
Like I don't know if Sam remembers, but I think I could swear like somewhere around mid year or early in the mid year I said like 2020 retail fucked Wall Street. They just bulldozed them by sheer numbers. And the Wall Street was just too stubborn to adjust. But then this year Wall Street figured it out. We're just
Yeah,
gonna do a combination of common knowledge and controlling the media, and we're just gonna fuck you over. Because every week it's like some new fear, get a sell off, and the next week it's like, oh look, it didn't happen.
I know. Well, it's funny. I was actually looking at some stuff today, and like I can't remember the companies, but it was it was some of the bigger name companies and stuff. I've just been noticing lately, like since the market's been selling off pretty consistently, there's been a lot of companies that are starting to do stock buybacks, like into these dips, which I think is pretty interesting.
Clever, that's smart for them.
Yeah, which shows me that excuse me, which shows me that they're planning on, the stock prices are going to plan on increasing. Because that was the other thing I was going to mention, is I was doing some research and reading a few reports from like financial advisors and stuff, and like the consensus that I'm seeing is that they're thinking that next year, like we're probably in for like a choppy few months, but then next year is likely going to be strong again, which we kind of expected. And people are all scared because interest rates are going up. But like the interesting thing that was noted in these reports I was reading, which like I knew, but I didn't really like click, was that they're saying if interest rates are going up, then that usually bodes well for the economy in like the long run of that year, because if interest rates can increase, that means the economy is strong, and that means people have money, right? It's when interest rates come down, that's when people don't have money, and that's when they need to bring the interest rates down so people can afford all their housing and all their loans and all that kind of stuff. So the fact that interest rates are planning to go up, it scares people temporarily, because they think, oh, things are going to get more expensive, it's going to be harder to afford stuff. But the government wouldn't increase interest rates if the economy wasn't strong and they didn't know that people could afford to pay for it. So like that shows all the investors that the economy is strong and people still have money to invest, which I thought was kind of an interesting take on it.
I don't disagree with that logic, except I don't think their reasoning is correct.
Okay.
Because it would under normal circumstances they're absolutely right because like if you have inflation, which is more money going after the same amount of goods, and clearly people have more money than we have resources, so that's why inflation, right? And so yeah, you want to pull back, you want to make the cost of borrowing less, and then you cool it off because people have more money. But in this case, it's like I don't believe the inflation we're suffering right now is a case of more money going after less goods, more like of a result of price gouging. So if I'm correct and it's a result of price gouging, then the economy's not strong. It just appears to be strong. And so if you pull back the lever and you up interest rates, the opposite could happen, which is a recession. I'm
Yeah.
not saying I'm right, but I'm just saying like that's the other side of it.
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely two ways to look at it for sure. Because I never thought of it like that until I started reading these reports. But like the underlying reasoning and the fact that like if they're increasing interest rates, it's because the economy is strong
Mm.
and people can afford it. I mean, it makes
Yep.
sense, right?
Yep.
Like it kind of
Mhm.
sucks because it costs more to do stuff. But I mean,
You know what? It makes perfect sense though. If you have a situation where you just have like prices going up because too many people are just flush with money, then yeah, you want to pull that shit back. Like what the
yeah,
fuck,
yeah,
right? So I just hope they have more data than I do, and they're actually confirmed that prices are going up literally because there's more money going after the same goods, and it's not a price gouge issue. Because I have some evidence to suggest it's a price gouge issue.
yeah. I like to. I mean, I don't really I don't really have faith in any of our fearless leaders, but I like to try and believe that they at least did a little bit of research on this one.
Yeah. Well, either way, I think stocks will go down a little bit, but I was expecting chop anyway. Oh, that's what we wanted to talk about the other day when we're setting up. Like, how would you trade chop? I don't know if you have before.
Oh, okay. Do you want to talk about it in the next episode?
Yeah, if we're getting close
We're
to
already
it,
at half
we'll
an
wrap this
hour,
one up.
so yeah, I'll wrap
Yeah,
this one
let's wrap this
up.
one up. Sorry, guys, I gotta save it.
Means you just have to watch the next one.
Yeah, stay tuned. All right, thanks for watching, guys. See you again.
Later.